All right, so welcome to our case study simulation class for May 2025. That's of ICAN examination. And my name is Simeon. For those of you that are probably joining for the first time, you haven't been, maybe you paid for case study lecture, you haven't been attending, right? Because I mean, the population in this class is larger than what we have in a normal class. And just to also mention is that this class is strictly for simulation of the case study present that have been released. So we are going to assume that everyone attending this class has attended lectures for case study. There are quite a number of things. A lot of people risk not attending case study lecture on the basis that maybe I just want to use the present. I just want to leverage on the fact that I've done it before, or there are just some things you want to leverage on. So what you're literally doing is showing that case study is probably less important than other courses, and that is always a big error to make, right? So I tell for those who have been attending lectures with MPT from the beginning of the diet, you realize that there is a structure, and that structure, just to summarize, is that your understanding of the technical parts in terms of your skills from SFM, your skills from PM, your skills from financial reporting and the likes, can only give you 50% of what is required to pass case study, and the remaining 50% is actually supposed to come from you understanding how to write reports. So we are not coming to this class to teach how to write reports, right? So if you need, especially if you have the time, maybe you're writing case study only, or maybe two other courses, if you still need to pay for the full case study class to have access to the report, essential videos, and all the necessary resources you need, it's still a good time to do that. It's always good to have as much information as possible that you need to be able to avoid having to, face serious challenges in the exam hall. So again, we will assume that everyone has done the needful before now, and then our attention will be on the case study simulation. So the only thing I would do is to show you just some very vital information that will help us with the simulation, just so we can be together. Okay. I will start off before we come back to this screen, which is the current precinct. I will start off with our cost chart. This is our regular cost chart, and if I go on the case study page, I hope you are following me. Can anyone confirm if you can hear me clearly?
Yes.
All
Yes,
I can
sir.
right.
hear you, sir.
All right, all right. So when we get back to the case study present and we try to read, you will see an emphasis on, the usefulness of the present, which is you utilizing it to understand and familiarize yourself with the case study report, so that you don't have to repeat those actions in the exam hall. And the starting point really is to understand, the impact of the industry that you're being given to analyze in a particular diet. If you look at our Pathfinder cost charts, you see how we've mapped past questions over a number of diets from November 2014 till date, to tell you the different industries that have been examined over time and the areas that have been examined. You see different industry up until the last one, which is hospitality industry. And for example, the ratios or the numbers you'll be given when you are dealing with hospitality is probably different from what you have when you're dealing with a microfinance bank or a normal conventional bank, or even a mortgage bank, as we have seen in the past, right? So the industry actually, do matter. And then the other thing you probably want to pick from here is the fact that financial analysis is a constant thing, right? And just to mention before we get to start looking at your present, because I would also assume that everyone has read it before now. So um, you realize that there is, if you compare it with previous diets, you were not given any financials, right? This diet, but it doesn't mean that it cannot come in the exam. You will see it from your JD that your role still requires that you analyze the performance of the entity and all of those, right? And then if we follow this trend, which we see every diet, that financial analysis, which is also like 30% of the entire syllabus, right, has a tendency of definitely coming out. And then so many other areas that can be examined from, if you look at area 3 and 4, from financial reporting implication to evaluating capital projects, to evaluating proposals, to analyzing sustainability performance, strategic acquisition analysis, and a whole lot of areas that have been examined in the past, right? And then on the business analysis side, you will see a trend that have shown that, so many tools that you will use in analyzing businesses and business environment have been tested over time, from Pestel to value chain, Porter's value chain, to SWOT, to, so many analysis tools that we have seen in the past. And then you see that the last diet was tested before a break was May 2018 diet. And then we saw that trend that ICAN stopped testing models from November 2018 down to November 2023. Right? And for those of you really who understand us very well, or who have had the opportunity of attending case study lecture with MPT, maybe sometimes before the diet, you realize that we do a simulation. We don't come up with a suggested preseen. We don't come up with a suggested solution, because it causes a lot of time. People focus on, the money that can come out of that, the attention that can come out of that, and then they ignore the detail that the students actually need. And I always tell my students that anything suggested solution needs to be avoided. It needs to be avoided, because one thing suggested solution will do to you is that it will close your mind. And the best approach for case study is not for you to have a suggested solution that will close your mind. It is actually for you to have an open mind and think of different areas that can be examined based on the preseen you're looking at. And then in each of those areas, you are able to get prepared for those areas and say, oh, if I have this is how I'm going to approach it. If I have this is how I'm going to approach it. And that's basically the best way to prepare for case study using the preseen. So the only thing we then do is, by the time we simulate and identify possible areas that can be tested based on the information we can see in the preseen, we also try to assign maybe a form of probability to tell you, based on the fact or things that we can see from the preseen, this area is highly probable, this area is more probable than this, and those are basically the approach that we use. And then you see again that from May 2024, a new trend, bringing back the strategic tools. You see answer vector growth model being examined in May 2024. You see SWOT analysis. This was last diet. You see SWOT analysis, and then that tells you that, you cannot ignore the fact that strategic models can be examined. Are we together? And one thing I need to tell you is that, because I have been doing this from, I have been doing this case study of a thing for a very long period of time. And I can tell you that you see all this period that you cannot see strategic models. You see all this period. I usually tell my students that the fact that we are looking at this trend doesn't mean that we should ignore the fact that ICAN can actually test strategic models. And every diet, I tell my students, yes, we can see this. We can see this. Yes, let's consider it in writing our simulation report. But you see this model part. From the information we are seeing, right, it can actually be examined. Although if we look at the past, the trend, we can say maybe they are not bringing it out, but it doesn't change the fact that the information we are looking at, it can still be tested and it's still in the syllabus. So it tells you that for students who follow, who approach things with an open mind and listening to instructions like that, this particular diet where I can brought models back and brought answer vector growth model will not be a surprise. And another information to add is that this answer vector growth model that was examined in this particular diet, it was actually part of what we simulated to say, oh, Ansoff is probable, and we had it. So we need to have an open mind, and that's the first thing I really need to tell you. So the first thing before we start opening this diet is, let's look at these two diets briefly. Let's look at these two diets, the May 2024 diet and November 2024 diet. And what we want to do is, we want to see, we are not going to read, we'll just flip through, look at what the information or the type of information that was provided in the preseen. Let's see what was eventually brought out in the unseen and the requirement. We do the same thing for November 2024. Let's see what the preseen looked like, and let's see how what they brought in the unseen. Let's do that together, because remember, we've said we want to spend this 12 p.m. to 7 p.m., although 12 to about just 2 hours is for this class, and then the remaining hours is for you to write the preseen report and get ready for the exam. But the plan, as already agreed, is from this 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. when you write all your report and everything, is basically for you to get ready for the exam. And that's part of why I've also incorporated the fact that before we start looking at this preseen, let's look at these two diets really. Let's look at these two diets. And then the first one is May 2024 diet, right? Is anyone still with me?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. All right. Thank you. So, there are quite a number of information here that we are still going to read again in the current preseen, but I'll just walk through them. But this is basically where they give you an instruction telling you what is expected from case study, list all the exhibits that have been provided for you, right? For example, here you've got exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 exhibits. This exhibit includes about you, which you see, which will include your role. Look at it here. So about you. And one thing about this about you is that they are telling you who you are. This is where you're able to know whether you're writing an internal or external report and know your responsibility. And I tell students that whatever you'll be asked to do at the end of the day will not be outside your responsibility. Think about it from the from the reality. So if you're working for an organization, hardly will you have anything to be done by you outside your JD. Are we together? So that's the same way. So it's actually always important to read your responsibility again, again, and again, because it gives you a picture of what can be examined, right? So we'll go to the current preseen and we will do that reading together, right? And then we have this information about the company, their strategic, plan and all of those. You see all of this information, vision, mission, and all of this, the market information, and then you have the financial statement. These numbers are given, and then that's all. And you see that in the unseen, additional 5 exhibits. Additional what? 5 exhibits. So you see that here they talked about the market. They talked about sustainability and CSR. They talked about business model. They talked about business growth strategies, and these are some of the things we looked at. If you look at this, expand this, enhance customer experience. We were able to read this, and this is where we started. Thinking about answer vector growth model, even in the preseen, even from the preseen. And at the end of the day, they were given this exhibit that then shows the strategic development, introduction of a particular product to the market, strategic acquisition as well. And then you see here, think here, where they are now telling you and this is the requirement. This is the requirement where they're asking you to evaluate the 2022 financial statement of Eat, right, and Smoothie, Chocolate, whatever, and then an evaluation of the viability of the proposed introduction of this product, and also what other thing, you need to do a simulation here. no, you need to do, is this a forecast? You need to basically also do an evaluation here. And then the last part is basically for you to use what? Use Ansoff growth matrix to evaluate the extent of, sales development strategy that could help in achieving those two strategic objectives. And that's what the requirement looked like at the end of the day. And then you also have this support, right? You have this additional exhibit. This is where they are telling you about the development strategies. This is where they were telling you about information on the product you want to introduce to the market, right? Where they give you the selling price, the labor cost, material cost, variable overhead, and all of these things to show you down to operating profit for different, products, as you can see here. And it's one of those things they've told you to evaluate. And then here, they also gave you information about a strategic acquisition that need to be made, where you have all this information. And at the end of the day, you've been asked to evaluate this as well, right? So this is not what we're paying our attention to. We're just trying to see the level of information that can be given in the unseen. It can be significant, right? So you need to have your mind opened. So you've also got few other information here, but that's basically it. Let's also walk through last diet, which is, where's last diet? Yep. So last date as well, which is November 2024, you see the same instruction. This one is standard. Then at the end of the day, you're also given a list of exhibits, which includes about you, Dan Kabir, where they listed, these responsibilities of yours. Well, and at the end of the day, we've said nobody will give you anything to do outside your responsibility. And then it started by giving you Nigerian economy and the hospitality industry, a very long detail that you need to go through to actually understand, so that you don't have to be reading this over and over again in the exam hall. They also give you information about the hospitality industry and the business environment, showing you, highlighting some challenges faced by the hospitality industry, very long list. And, at the end of the day, they wrapped it up by giving you information about Travex, the board, the management, the competition, including these financial statements as well. This is for the Preseen. And that was the, okay, I think you also had this part which talked about sustainability and innovation. This is all in the Preseen. And you realize that looking at all of this, really, there were actually a lot of information that were given, last diet. But in the unseen, you see, you were only given four additional exhibits, and that is an email from your guy, an email from your client, and then information about business segment performance, and also information about a project. And this is standard information. This is the email requiring you to do what? Do a detailed evaluation of the three business segments of the hotel across two locations, noting, analyzing basically how they are performing. And then the second one is an appraisal of the hospitality business environment in view of the development in sustainability and innovation, noting the opportunity and threat of this development. Also, an evaluation of the proposed form clause as requested by Travex board. Are we together? So, and then an informed report on process improvement, training, etc. needed to remediate the reoccurring auditor's observation. And this is what the requirement looked like at the end of the day. So in the unseen, part of the other information that were given to you is this email from the client, and then this information about the segment reporting showing Travex Hotel in Lagos, Travel Hotel, Travex Hotel in Abuja, Travex Hotel in hotel games, and also different segments from rooms, food and beverage, shop rentals, and all of these things, right? Given to you, looking like a lot of additional information that you then need to utilize And in addition to that, in this Exhibit 10, they gave you information specifically for Project Form Plus, where you are given all of this to be able to evaluate. And, that was the last part of the unseen. So the reason I had to walk you through this is that you need to have an open mind. It's very important. Case study is not the type that you need to have a suggested solution or a suggested unseen and you limit your mind to it. Please, let's have an open mind. It's very important. Okay. So at this point, we can start looking at the May 2025 Preseen ICAN Case Study Preseen. Are we good? Are we good?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
We're not really good though, generally.
Okay, so was it looking like a lot of information in the unseen, or what's the issue?
And generally, it's not about CS.
Okay, so majorly for all the papers, you're writing all the papers now. So I think I understand that, it's a very it's gotten to that stage there, like, oh my God, is this what did I sign up for? Don't worry. After exam, after Thursday, you will sleep you have a very good sleep and rest well. So don't worry. Let's push it. Let's push it further.
Almost a month after exam, I usually don't used to have a good sleep because I will used to wake up. I used to wake up, wake up, wake up.
You're already used to your routine for the exam. I mean, it's understandable. Okay, so let's go, guys. And let's just pay attention. And at the end of the day, I believe it's going to be very easy. All we need is just have an open mind. Let's read the question be be real to ourselves, right? Let's read this present and be real to ourselves. So let me just walk you through this. There are instructions here which you need to read before your exam so that you don't have to spend time reading them again in your exam. Example is, you can write with blue or black pen. I mean, I don't have to read that for you here. And then the other instruction here, which we actually need to read some, is telling you about the present. And this is where if you read all of these, they are telling you that you are not meant to bring this present to the exam hall. So it is not for you to print it and say you're taking it to the exam hall. And also for you to understand that case study present is not for you to leverage on it and say this is all you need to pass your case study. It is just for you to take it up, do additional research, and leverage on that information to be able to, just make life easy for yourself in the exam, which is why we are doing this together anyways, so that we can bring in our experience and then corroborate it with all your um effort and just make life easy for ourselves. Okay. And then assessment of case study, let me just call your attention to this, that marks are allocated this way. Your ability to assimilate and analyze information, or let's say assimilating and using information, gives you about 20%. Structuring problems and solution, and that's why, for those of you that have gone through our case study classes, you see that we've paid attention to those things, telling you about the structure of your report, your presentation, because it's a professional report, so you cannot write an anyhow report. Are we together? So structuring problems and solution, applying judgment, your ability to apply professional judgment, skepticism is also being tested. Be able to draw conclusion and recommendations, demonstrating integrative and multidisciplinary skills is equally important. You should be able to identify financial reporting implications, where you need to. You should be able to basically identify, show that you are capable. You are a chartered accountant already. That's what case study is expecting you to demonstrate, and then present appropriate appendices. Now, an important part that I need to show you before we move forward is this part. which says of the total mark available, 20% will be assigned to the executive summary session of your report. And that tells you how important executive summary is. These are things that we've had separate classes to discuss, during the diet, right? And the second part, which I need to call your attention to, is that they said, and approximately 10 marks will be assigned to proper consideration of ethical issues within your answer to the requirement. So your ability to identify ethical issues where they exist is actually very important and can fetch you up to 10 marks in that particular exam. Okay, and the areas to watch out for, these are the areas. These 5 areas are the areas you need to watch out for. Are there any indication of lack of professional independence or objectivity, conflict of interest among stakeholders, doubtful accounting and creative accounting practices, unethical business practices, inappropriate pressure to achieve results? These are areas you need to watch out for in your case study, right? That could signal ethical issues. And then we were given 5 exhibits in this Preseen. And these are the 5 exhibits that we need to go through thoroughly. We go through them exhibit by exhibit. So I will actually need 5 people, one to help us walk through each exhibit. So the moment you're done, the approach is we read a particular exhibit, we think about the things we need to pay attention to in that exhibit before we move to the next exhibit. So who is starting with exhibit 1, which is about you, Matthew Idemudia. Just this one page. Okay, so who is reading about you?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Deborah.
Please zoom a bit.
All right, thank you.
Okay, about you, Matthew Idemudia. You are Matthew Idemudia, an accounting graduate, writing the professional level of ICAN examination. You are employed as finance and business analyst by Defcon Manufacturing Limited. You report to Tafa Gambari, the company's director of finance. Your responsibilities include preparing.
Okay. So thank you. Sorry for interrupting. This Preseen is about 14 pages. The importance of understanding the information you have in these 14 pages, the importance of it in actually passing case study exam is very significant. If you get into that exam hall and you haven't familiarized yourself with this Preseen, these 14 pages, such that you have to read it again, it can cause is a big one. Let me put it that way. So let's not just listen to Deborah read. Let us read with her. Let's pay attention and read actually. And that's what I needed to emphasize on. So at the end of the day, by the time we are done with this one page, exhibit 1, you need to be able to fully understand everything you've got in here such that you don't have to come back and be reading everything again, even inside the exam hall. The only thing you're probably doing is in 5 seconds, you're just looking through to be sure that it's still the same information, the normal doubtful mindset. You're just looking through to say, oh, it's still the same information. Okay, I'm good to go. Next exhibit. And then with that, things are a bit faster. So that's time management. Okay, so yes, your responsibility includes, go on.
Okay. Your responsibilities include preparing detailed financial analysis and reports on the performance of the company, analyzing company's financial statements to identify areas of weakness and preferring likely solutions to correct the anomalies, assessing operational and strategic business proposals to see how each aligns with the company's strategic objectives and impact on business and financial risk, assessing the company's financial and business forecasts together with the assumption upon which they are based to form judgments, conclusions, and recommendations in form of reports to the board, analyzing the company's internal and external business environment and advising the board on the company's strengths and weaknesses compared to the competitors and opportunities and threats prevalent in the environment, advising the board and management on sustainability issues, and assisting in the preparation of the company's annual sustainability reports to stakeholders. And lastly, drafting reports for your boss based on the operational and strategic business analysis you have carried out. Carrying out these responsibilities effectively demands that you keep yourself abreast with the developments in the accounting and taxation space and the business environment, both nationally and internationally.
Okay, thank you for that. And now this is where you have been told that you are Matthew Idemudia, an accounting graduate with a professional, writing the professional level of ICAN exam. You are employed as a finance and business analyst by Defcon Manufacturing Limited. You are analyzing a manufacturing company. And I mean, our multidisciplinary skills now. So I don't need anybody to tell me at this point that when I'm analyzing a manufacturing company, there are ratios that are very, very important to pay attention to. Things like your efficiency ratios are not jokes here, right? So you need to, so even though numbers have not been given, if you're giving numbers in your exam and you have to analyze ratios, you can already tell the type of ratios you need to analyze and how the ones that are extremely important, right? Things like being able to analyze your efficiency ratios from trade receivable period, payable period, inventory period, and all those to be able to analyze and discuss the cash operating cycle of the company is very critical. Is very critical. And then other ratios like profitability and the likes can come in, right? We'll dwell more on that. And as part of your responsibility, I can see that your responsibility requires that you are able to analyze the financials and discuss the performance of the company. So even though financial statements have not been given in this preseen, from what we've seen in the past, and considering that this is part of your JD, financial analysis is highly probable. Are you with me?
Yes.
That's it. Okay. But before we proceed with that, I want to ask you a question. Is this an internal or external report?
Internal report.
Internal report.
Internal report.
Internal report. Why? Just for everyone to be clear.
Because
You
it
are
should
an
be addressed
employee
to your
of the
boss
director.
inside the
Okay.
organization.
Because you work with this organization, which is Defcon Manufacturing Limited, you are this finance and business analyst who report to this guy who is the finance director of the company, and that's an internal report. So no confusion, this is an internal report. So even though with time, for those, I'm still going to show you our report again, things like this now. Let me show you a sample report. I mean, some of the report that you've written in the past, right? By the time you are writing your report in the evening, this disclaimer, I probably not expect anything serious. You probably want to write something simple. This report is for internal use only. Close the chapter and save that time. Or you can even write at the bottom, for internal use only. And that's it. And then the other thing is you need to understand your audience. You can simply see, you can even decide not to bother yourself with this kind of letter-headed format, or you can just leave it there. Maybe at the top, you will just write Defcon Manufacturing Limited. Simple. A draft report on what's your subject, prepared by who? Your department now, either that's basically you, your role and all of that. And then to who? We will see who you are asked to address the report to at the end of the day, whether it's to your finance director or to the board. Those are some of the things that we need to see. I think it's even here where you have been given signal that you need to be able to report to the board. Can you see this part? You need to be able to report to the board. I think I saw somewhere again, analyze this, see, advising the board. And then can you see that? So that's a clear indication that, see, advising the board and management, that's a clear indication that this report needs to be addressed to the board. And I mean, easy peasy. Internal report, we know who we're addressing the report to, and that's clear enough. Some of the things we will still discuss at the end of the day is what our subject can look like based on what we can see for now. Are we still together?
Yes.
All right. So let's dive further into this, your role. We've talked about the first one, and that's basically saying that this is looking highly probable that you still do your regular financial analysis, which we'll still talk about more, right? The second one says analyzing the company's financial statement, I mean, still part of the first one, to identify areas of weaknesses and profiling likely solutions to correct any anomaly. And this is to re-emphasize that, I mean, we've had detailed lectures during the diet. We've had a separate class on case study. We've had a separate class on financial analysis, which is on YouTube, right? I mean, if you miss that lecture, if you cannot find it on the normal video folder, go to the YouTube, I mean, just ensure you still listen to, especially the interpretation part. The fact that you need to pay attention. Analyzing ratios at this level go beyond crunching the numbers and just calculating, and we pay more attention to the interpretations, right? And that's where you need to be able to identify, do they have liquidity problem? What's the way out? Do they have gearing issue? What's the way out? Do they have profitability issue? What's the way out? What are you suggesting? Are we together? Do they have problem with relationship problem with creditors, or what is the way out? And those are some of the things you need to be able to identify clearly. So it's part of so I will categorize this as one. I will just call it financial analysis. The second one says assessing operational and strategic business proposal to see how each align with the company's strategic objective and impact on business and financial risk. Are we together? And if we look at all the information that we've seen from this precinct, for those of us that have read it before now, you will see that there are opportunities in the business environment. So it is very possible that we think of a strategic way to exploit this opportunity, either by embarking on a project or by, just looking for a new thing to do to expand or whatever it is that you want to do, right? So it tells you that there are good level of probability that a proposal can be presented to you to examine and advise accordingly. So that's two now. Financial analysis, evaluation of proposal is very clear from your JD. Let's look at the next one. The next one says assessing the company's financial and business forecast together with the assumptions upon which they are based to form judgment, conclusions, and recommendation in form of report to the board. So it doesn't change the fact that you can still be asked to do a forecast. It could be in form of your regular, similar to what you've done in your SFM when you're forecasting free cash flow. You ask, I mean, everything will be given to you. Maybe what the revenue is today, or what the price or unit is today, and the rate at which is expected to increase over a number of years, maybe your other information as well. And you need to be able to incorporate all of those information to forecast all these numbers over a period of time. And it is possible that forecasting is leading to you doing an MPV after forecasting, or you are doing evaluation after forecasting, or it might even be a simple profitability or a contribution analysis after forecasting numbers. A good example is you forecast, I mean, if we are introducing a new product, and we know what we want to sell it today, and in line with inflation, we know we can create a pattern at which we want the price to increase. We can look at the capacity that we have, look at the market share, and consider how we want to, the number of units we want to introduce to the market, and how we intend that to increase that over a period of time. We can talk about labor cost. We can talk about the pattern at which we expect labor cost to increase, the number of labors, the rate per labor, how we expect the number of the workforce to increase over a number of period. You should be able to incorporate all of those things to forecast all your income, your outflows, your expenses, and everything at the end of the day to be able to estimate a simple profitability. That can lead you to doing a profitability analysis. It could be it could be a contribution analysis where you're able to separate sales part from the variable cost part to be able to identify your contribution clearly, right? And then before you consider fixed cost. Are we together? And it could be, if it is about a new product, it could be you being able to do some level of break-even analysis just to know, when you break even and some margin of safety and all of those things, right? So this part is a very open one. You just need to have an open mind, right? It's all about calculating with whatever information you're given at the end of the day and all. Then the next one says, analyzing the company's internal and external business environment and advising the board on the company's strengths, weaknesses, compare to the competitors and opportunities and threats prevalent in the environment, right? And this is giving you an indication that your tools for analyzing the business environment can be examined. If I want to put them in an order that in an order that they are highly related to this information we are seeing here, I can tell you that SWOT is highly probable without any stress. I can tell you that the next probable, is probably pestle, right? It doesn't change the fact that from what we are seeing here, 5 forces can be examined because we see information about competition and all of those, competitive forces, and 5 forces model, the Porter's 5 forces model can be examined. It could be Porter's value chain as well, right? If you just want to understand how all of these things come into you creating value at the end of the day, it could be that. But I mean, if you start thinking about those other models, the more the more you start bringing in, the less probable those models appear to to be examined. So from what we can see here, the models for analyzing the business environment are looking like the highly probable ones from SWOT to pestle and the likes, right? So let's just have that in mind. Still on your JD, advising the board.
Sorry, sir. Are we not considering the Potter's Potter's five stuff?
Do you mean Potter's diamond?
Yeah, because of the computer that are there.
Do you mean Potter's 5 forces or Potter's diamond?
Potter 5 forces.
Okay, Potter's 5 forces. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So what I said is that we're not concluding yet. I mean, this is just us still previewing our JD. So what I said is that if you look at all of this information that is presented here, we can easily say in the order that it's related to this particular JD, we can say SWOT, pestle, maybe Potter's 5 forces next, and then maybe before others. I don't know if that makes sense. So with that, we're able to say, okay, look at this. Let's now look at the information we'll see at the end of the day in other exhibit. And that's when we'll be able to conclude that, oh, this one is more probable than this one. And, we can basically narrow things down. Does that make sense? Okay, so can we
Yes.
proceed?
Yes, please.
All right.
Yes,
So
we can.
advising the board, the next one, advising the board and management on sustainability issues and assisting in the preparation of the company's annual sustainability report to stakeholders, right? So your JD requires that you are able to prepare a sustainability report. To prepare a sustainability report to the stakeholders. Sustainability report. So one thing we will do before we end this class, because see, this is simulation, and we simulate in a way that we don't want to have a complete, like, the more we can reduce these surprises, the better. Will it not be nice if we look for
No,
if
go
we
no.
look for a financial
Go no.
statement that have like a sustainability report
Rhonda.
and just do a walkthrough before we leave this
That
class
means your
or before you go on to write? Please, if you're not muted, ensure you're muted, please.
Think
You're
you're
not
right, sir.
speaking.
It's good at the look at the report that has the sustainability element. Just look at it.
Very important. Very important. They have never examined this part of saying you preparing a sustainability report before, but look at your JD. Look at it. It says advising the board and management on sustainability issues and assisting in the preparation of the company's annual sustainability report to stakeholders. You cannot go into this exam without picking an annual report that has a sustainability report in it and just go through it to see a structure of a sustainability report. It's very key because it's part of your JD. Are we all on the same page?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you won't see this in past questions now. So this is where research needs to come in. So before we leave this class, we do that part of actually, going to check, let's walk through one and let's make sense from it and say, okay, if they examine this, if they, with all this information that have been given to us, with any other additional information they might want to bring, let's see how, if it is something we can draft, let's say a 1 or 2 pages report, if we are asked to do so in the exam. It's in your JD. Let's go on. And then the last part says drafting report to your boss based on the operational and strategic business analysis that you have carried out. So for me, really, we've picked a lot of things from your JD already. And all we now need to do is to go through the remaining, how many exhibits, the remaining 4 exhibits, before we start reaching a conclusion already, right? Unfortunately, before now, they normally give numbers. And what we normally do is, let me show you. Can you see my Excel screen? Can you see my Excel screen, guys?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
All right. So, you can see my Excel screen?
I can
We
see
can
it.
see it.
All right. So this is a typical Preseen. And see, last diet, they gave them all of this. I think we've walked through this together and you saw it. So at the end of the day, you're giving numbers, and then we're able to leverage on this to compute some ratios even before, even before the exam. But in your own diet now, they haven't given you anything like that, right? If you walk through all this from the beginning to the end. So even though we'll be expecting it, but just have an open mind to be able to compute ratios. If you're not given, just move on. And we have seen diets that they did not really bring a clear ratio. It was a big surprise, but look at this diet. It wasn't a ratio, so to say, because I think you guys wrote this as an assignment now. And then it was majorly on capital reconstruction, capital reduction, and then benchmarking. Do you guys remember? You wrote this as an assignment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very important. So you could have something like that. So, open your mind. And then another diet here, a form of ratio, but they didn't bring it as a direct ratio. They brought it in form of balance scorecard. So it's very good to have an open mind. And we have seen other diet like November 2022, which is on microfinance, where you are actually not expected to do the regular ratio, but the ratio that aligns with the Camel's model for assessing a typical bank performance, right? So those are some of the things we have seen in the past. All right, so let's go to the next exhibit, which is about, the next exhibit is a bit long. to 3 pages, but we can read. And the purpose of reading this is, before we get to start concluding, let's understand what they've presented to us in the Preseen, relating to Nigerian economy. So who is reading for us? And before you start reading, yeah, good afternoon, Olatosin, before you read. So think about, you want to use SWOT. Think about, you want to use PESTEL or any other model. So these are areas you need to get information from. Let's talk about SWOT. What is S? Strength. Strength. Is there an external or internal factor? Internal. So that means, so when you are reading information about Travex now, you need to be focusing on, you need to be paying attention to what are their strengths. Okay, what is W? Weaknesses. Is it internal or external? Internal. So when you still get to that place, you're reading information about, did I say Travex the other time? DEFCON, right? You need to be able to look at it and say, oh, what are the weaknesses? The next one is O. What is O? Opportunities. Is that external or internal? External factors. It tells you that you cannot just read through this Nigerian economy page or 3 pages as if you're reading something that is not needed, or this one is less relevant. No. So let's read it in detail, and you need to be able to spot the things that you might need if you need to do a SWOT, or it could even be a PESTEL or any other model. What about the last one? Threats, right? Also external factor. So those are some of the things you might be able to spot, 1 or 2 things here. Opportunities, threat. Opportunity, threat. So if we're talking about the Nigerian economy. So we can read now. I think Olatosin, you wanted to read, right? Okay, anyone who wants to walk us through the Nigerian economy?
Okay, good afternoon.
The Nigerian economy. Hello?
Yeah, go on.
The Nigeria economy. One key development since 2023 national election is the challenging economic situation in Nigeria. The challenges in turn have adversely affected the country's socio-economic landscapes and macroeconomic performance. However, the new government has continued to implement various economic reforms, such as fluctuations of naira, removals of petroleum subsidy, etc., to address the socio-economic challenges, optimize the country potentials, and attain crucial developmental objectives. This reform seems to have temporarily constrained the performance of the real sector, thus suppressing all economic outcomes. Furthermore, the Russia-Ukraine crisis and the resulting disruptions in the global supply chain, alongside energies and food crisis, accentuated economic vulnerability throughout the year. The hikes in a global policy rate in 2023 also had consequential impacts on investment and productivity in Nigeria, thus impeding economic growth. As a result of the above, Nigeria economic growth remained fragile in 2023, marked by escalating inflationary pressures, exchange rate depreciations, and fiscal constraints. These factors hinder productivity, curtail performance of the real sector, and diminishing the positive impact of the growth outcome on qualities of life for Nigerians. Though Nigeria has the potential to enhance local food and livestock production, the nation still relied heavily on imported agricultural goods to fulfill growing domestic demand. As a result of insecurities and terrorist activities that is impeding farming activities, this depends not only strained available foreign exchange reserve, but also contributed to an escalation of imported inflation due to depreciations of the local currency. Imported food inflation has been stated to average 20.4% in 2023, up from 17.8% in 2022. As a result of the supply chain disruption and impending farming activities, food inflation has increased to 33.9% in 2023. The eliminations of petroleum subsidies also had direct effects on fuels and transportation costs, thus increasing both food and non-food prices. As evidenced by the upward trajectories of inflation indices, in conjunction with global energy prices, the removals of petroleum subsidies significantly increased production expenses for majorities of micro, small, and medium enterprises that heavily depend on petrol as a primary input in perilous periods. The expansions of the Central Bank of Nigeria ways and means mechanism contributed to inflation by enlarging the money supply, thereby intensifying pressures on the naira's value, eroding the purchasing powers of the populace. Challenges in the economy, unemployment. One of the most pressing concerns for Nigerian economy is the high levels of unemployment. The youth unemployment rate remain high, contributing to social unrest and instabilities. The government has made efforts to address this issue through various youth empowerment programs and initiatives aimed at creating jobs. Inflation. Inflation is another challenge for Nigerian economy. Rising food stabilization price has put a strain on household budgets and contributed to social unrest in some part of the country. The government has taken steps to address this issue by implementing monetary policies aimed at stabilizing prices. Exchange rate volatility. While inflation has been on the rise, eroding the purchasing powers of Nigerians and making it difficult for businesses to plan and invest, the exchange rate has also been volatile, leading to uncertainties in the business environment. Addressing these issues will be crucial in restoring confidence in the economy. Infrastructure. Infrastructure remains another key area of concern for Nigeria economy. Decades of underinvestment have left the country with poor road network, inadequate power supply, and limited access to clean water. This hampers economic growth and deters investment from both domestic and foreign sources. Opportunities in the economy. Agriculture. Agriculture sector has shown resilience despite challenges such as climate change and insecurities in rural areas. There has been an increase in investment in agribusiness and modern farming techniques, which is expected to improve food securities and boost economic growth. Industrial development. Nigeria tech industry continues to show great potential for driving economic growth. Startups are emerging across various sectors, including fintech, e-commerce, health tech, and digital services that can drive innovations and improve efficiency, among others, which are attracting significant investment both locally and internationally. Renewable energy. With abundant sunlight and wind resources, investing in solar and wind energies can boost power generations, reduce dependencies on fossil fuels. Mining and solid mineral. Nigeria has untapped mineral resources. Developing the mining sectors can contribute to economic diversification. Should I go ahead, business environment?
Yes, let's look at this last part, and then we can speak to it.
Business environment. There are many government policies that affect the manufacturing sector, including the diapers and sanitary pad industry. These policies include import tariff, tax incentive, and regulations that impact production and distribution. In addition, government regulations regarding environmental pollutions, emissions, and waste disposals are becoming stricter, and there is a growing emphasis on sustainable and eco-friendly products. Therefore, manufacturers are increasingly adopting environmentally friendly practices and materials. Manufacturers are also required to comply with other laws and regulations, such as labor law, health and safety regulations and standards. The political landscape in Nigeria has been relatively stable, with seamless transitions from one civilian government to another. This relative stability, together with growth in populations, leads to investors' confidence in economic and friendly business environments. However, the business environment has been challenging by numbers of factors, such as erosions in consumers' purchasing power, which result in low demand for manufactured products. High exchange rates result in high cost of manufacturing inputs. Interest rate has gone up astronomically, which has led to low investment in the manufacturing sector. Removals of petroleum product subsidy leading to high inflation and further reductions in demand for products. The insecurity due to terrorist activities and clashes between herders and farmers, leading to a drop in the productions of food items and further worsenings of inflation. High unemployment rate and erosions of purchasing power occasioned by high inflation being experienced in the country. Inadequate energy supply and high cost of diesel to power generator for continuous productions of goods, which has led to some companies winding down their operations in the countries and moving to another country. Deficit in infrastructure. Most of the roads are so bad that vehicle transporting goods from one location to another may spend days before arrivals at the destination. Days coupled with risk of kidnapping by terrorists has hampered business progress. As a result of the preceding factors, manufacturers are finding it difficult to finance acquisitions of modern technology to improve their manufacturing process like their counterparts in other clients. Therefore, innovations and sustainable production practice, which can lead to more efficient production processes, new products, and high quality products continue to elude the sector.
Yep, and that's it. Thank you for that long reading. It was long, but I hope all of us, everyone has paid attention to that, because imagine if you have to do a SWOT analysis, or you even have to do like a PESTEL or any model, right? So there are quite a number of information that, you are expected to be able to, capture from all of this. And like I mentioned earlier, this is not a long reading you want to do again and again inside the exam hall. If at all you're looking at this in the exam hall, it's basically for you to scan through and pick those information that you've already seen before the exam, right? So if we are talking about the first part, we spoke about the removal of subsidy and the floating of the exchange rate and how it's impacted big on on the economy. And then from specific issues like the unemployment rate, the inflation rate, the exchange rate, and even infrastructure, and how these are serious challenges for the Nigerian economy, are things that you need to be able to identify and classify properly. So why this part might look a bit easier for SWOT, from SWOT angle, if you are to do SWOT now, this can easily fall under what? This can easily fall under which part of the SWOT? Right? So very good. So while you are looking at it that way, the other angle you need to look at it from is that if you are to use PESTEL, how do you then restructure all this information? That's another thing. So those are some of the things you need to, for example, PESTEL is what again? Political, economic, social, cultural, or social,
Technology,
technology.
legal.
Very good.
Legal.
Very good. So just to be able to ask you, I mean, on a very high level so that we can move on. Under which one will you classify unemployment issues?
Economic.
Also, the economy.
What about
Economic.
inflation?
Inflation,
Economy.
economic. Exchange
Economic.
rate, economy.
Okay,
Economy.
exchange rate, economy. What about infrastructure?
That looks like environment and also economic.
Environmental, ecological.
Can also
Outside
use technological too.
or ecological. I said environment or ecological.
Okay,
Whichever one.
so someone also mentioned technology, and that is to tell you that when you see things like infrastructure, you need to open your mind, because we can talk about physical infrastructure, like you will see road network and all of these things now will basically fall under physical infrastructure, right? And then you can easily put that under. So we can also talk about limited access to clean water. That's ecological. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right? We in fact, we can even talk about technology infrastructure. What level are we as an economy? And that falls under technology. So, and those are some of the things we need to understand. That all this information, it doesn't mean that the way you're looking at it, oh, it is automatic SWOT. If you are to use Pestel for this same information, it will appear in a very beautiful way. It's all about you being able to identify and analyze information appropriately. The same way we've got the opportunities as well. Opportunities is clearly one of your, the SWOT component. Talk about the agri sector, how, we've neglected it. Let me just put it that way. So there are a whole lot of opportunities there that have been neglected. And the way this economy of a thing work is that there is the component of the Potter's Diamond, which is supporting industry, right? So we've not created that atmosphere that we can leverage on our Greek products, which can actually serve as primary and supporting to many other industries, including this manufacturing industry that we're analyzing. Right? Because at the end of the day, you're probably importing your materials. I mean, that's another issue that we still need to see and discuss, right? Talk about industrial development. These are things that can still present opportunity. Renewable energy. If we look at the current trend around this area, these are areas that still offers opportunity, whether directly to you or even to the supporting industry. Okay.
Tax incentive too. Tax incentive.
Tax incentive,
And
exactly. I think we talked about that.
Import tariff. Import
Yeah,
tariff.
which is what we have here. Basically, the actions of the government in terms of policies, taxes, and other regulations are some of the things that can also bring in either threats or opportunities, or these are even things that can fall under any of the pastel components, right? I mean, we'll come back to this, but what we will do when we come back, because this information is very clear, what we will do is we will agree that for the purpose of writing the report this evening, which model will you prefer to use after we've gone through everything, right? We list all the possible models. We don't close our mind to say whichever one we've chosen to use is the one we are expecting. It can deviate. That's the way we do it. But we will agree on one, the one we want to use, and then we keep others open as well. If the one we've done comes out, so be it. We're lucky. If they examine the next one, we are still lucky because we opened our mind and we were mentally ready for it. Do you get? So those are some of the things we need to do. So a whole lot of information we've seen here about the Nigerian economy, the challenges, the opportunities, and the business environment in general, right? So I think if you are to do a SWOT analysis or a PESTEL analysis on this, you really have a lot to, to feed in. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is the Nigerian diaper and sanitary pad industry. So now we want to look at the industry. And in looking at the industry, you still need to pay attention to if you're thinking about analyzing the business environment is not limited to only the externals, right? Even though the industry sits between internal and external, follow me, Industry analysis sits somewhere between internal and external actually, but it's more of external. It's more of external. So you still, if you're thinking about SWOT, you still need to open your mind. What are the opportunities? What are the threats? And also there could be some weaknesses and strength in there, either coming from you or even from the industry. Because, for example, you could be looking at the fact that the industry is so strong, they have this and that can really help you to absorb maybe some of the economic challenges. Right? So let's open our mind and let's read. I think this one should be short. Exhibit 3 is about how many pages? 3 pages, but I think the information are well arranged. Yeah. So let's go through this. Someone else. And let's read. We are guys, at this point, we are not reading an irrelevant story. We are reading our question. We are reading with depth, that we don't want to go inside that exam hall and read all of these things again. By the time we do this reading, and when you are writing this report this evening, you do another reading and write the report, you're good to go. All you need to do inside the exam hall is check through, hope nothing has changed, right? And then check the unseen and start the business. Okay? So who is reading for us?
The
Good afternoon.
Nigerian diaper.
Okay.
The Nigerian diaper and sanitary pad industry. A diaper or nappy is a type of underwear that allows one to pass stool or urine in a discrete manner. When diapers become soiled, they require changing. Diapers are primarily worn by babies. However, they can also be used by adults with incontinence or in certain circumstances where access to a toilet is unavailable. These include the elderly, those with physical or mental disability, people with medical problems, and people working in extreme conditions, such as astronauts. A diaper is made up of synthetic disposable materials or cloth, whilst disposable diapers are made up of absorbent chemicals and are thrown away after use. Washable diapers are made of several layers of fabric, such as hemp, cotton, and bamboo, and are washable and reusable. As a result of advancements in manufacturing technologies and advocacy for green manufacturing, there has been an improvement in the design, biodegradability, and safety of diapers. Therefore, its use has gained immense acceptance across Nigeria. The global diaper market has been estimated to reach 69.5 billion US dollars in 2020, and this has been projected to reach 114.3 million billion US dollars by 2027, exhibiting a compound annual growth rate of 8.1% between 2022 to 2027. Women's sanitary napkins, also known as sanitary pads, are made up of absorbent items and are worn by women primarily for absorbing menstrual blood. They comprise numerous layers of quilted cotton fabric or other super absorbent polymers and plastics. They are manufactured in various shapes and sizes with different absorption capacities. The global sanitary pad market was put at a value of 23.63 billion US dollars in 2020, and it has been projected to grow at a compound annual rate of 4.7% between 2021 to 2026.
Now we can see what the global market for all these diapers and sanitary pads looks like, and what we need to see here is a form of opportunity, because sometimes the normal life cycle model, you need to be able to understand where the industry is. To understand the industry life cycle, you could narrow it down to the company as well, or even your product, to say what stage are we with this product, and where the stage you are determines the opportunity that are actually available in the future. And the fact that you still have this industry, with a growth of 8.1% means that if you invest in this industry, you can have a revenue growth that is at least this number if you put in everything. And bringing that down to the sanitary pad market as well, we see what the global position is. We see the growth rate between 2021 and 2026 as projected, and it tells you that there are opportunity for growth in the what? In the sanitary pads market, in the diaper market and all. And that's one thing we need to pick. I think the next thing we want to look at here is, let's see from our economy's side, from Nigeria's side. Go on.
Okay. Therefore, with an estimated population of about 220 million people and an estimated national population growth of 5.7% per annum, Nigeria has a large, growing, and sustainable market for sanitary pads, baby and adult diapers. Production of sanitary pads and diapers in Nigeria is estimated to be less than 20% of the demand, and the rest are being imported into the country. Currently, over 4 billion naira worth of diapers were being imported annually into the country, which is detrimental to the economy. The intention of the government is to stop importation and see how available local resources could be used, especially as the country has some companies that are into petrochemical that can provide the needed raw materials for the sector.
Okay. So when you are reading this now, one of the things you need to think about is that there are opportunities. How do you partner? How do you tap this opportunity? It can come as a requirement. It can signal what the proposals can be like. Proposal could be to expand. Proposal could be to buy, to invest in this part as well. Maybe currently the major issue is even the importation of raw materials and all of those. So they've also said here that the country has some companies that are into petrochemicals that can provide the needed raw material for the sector. But what level are they? What's the capacity? Right? So there is also an opportunity for backward integration, where you're able to introduce these petrochemicals aspect that can feed you the needed raw material. Those are opportunities. This opportunity can translate to what they will give you at the end of the day as proposal inside the exam hall. Because the purpose of proposal, don't forget, is to solve a problem. A lot of time in the past, we've had a situation. A problem can either be a positive problem or a negative problem. It's still seen as problem in business. A good example of a negative problem is the business is having problem. We have issue with this. Oh, we need to restructure the business to be able to, is it cheaper to restructure or we should just liquidate the company? Those are negative problems. But positive problems are, we have an opportunity. How do we tap this opportunity that we're looking at? We have everything. We have the population. Workforce is not a problem. The local demand is very huge, and we are still importing up to what? Over 4 billion worth of diapers. That's an opportunity. And where you see this opportunity and it is yet untapped, it becomes a problem for you as a business, because it's a problem of how do you tap that opportunity. And what I'm saying is, these are things that can easily come as the proposal we are expecting at the end of the day. Oh, to be able to do that, do you need to expand the current capacity or to acquire a completely different machine? That machine will require how much to invest in it? Oh, with this population, what is the revenue increase that will be expected from that machine? What is the cost that will come with it? What are other information that can be given, such that you're able to corroborate everything to do maybe an NPV calculation or whatever it is, right? Another angle is maybe someone is looking at it to say, where is it now? Where did they mention the products again? They mentioned sanitary pads, they They mentioned baby and adult diapers. What have you? Is there any other product that is looking like is missing in the picture? I don't think we have even seen much of that anyways. I don't think we have seen much of, maybe there is a specific need in terms of product that we are not currently doing. But let's say we eventually see something like that now. For example, by the time we get down there and we start reading information about DEFCON Limited, it could be that they only focus on sanitary pad at the moment, right? It could be that they focus on baby sanitary pads and baby diapers only, and they don't do adult one. Right? Do you know what that means? There could also be a proposal for the introduction of a new product, and those are some of the information that we need to gather from here. By the time we go down there to read information about DEFCON Limited, we should be able to also, have some direction, right? I think that's the purpose of all of this. But so far, so good. Apart from those, even from the business analysis side, you see a lot of opportunities, you see a lot of threats. Let's still go on to read the other aspects before so this side. According to
a one-time permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the diapers, sanitary pads, napkins, and wipes industry is a strategic tool for national development, particularly in areas of job creation and economic growth. He further described the sector as a developing category with strong growth prospects, considering the high fertility and birth rate of Nigerian women, estimated by the United Nations International Children Emergency Fund to be 5.9 million babies annually.
Now, before we continue, the question here is, this permanent secretary has told you that we've got diapers, sanitary pads, napkins, and wipes, and all of these things. And one question you need to answer at the end of the day is, how many of these things is DEFCON doing at the moment? Okay, so let's go on with the next paragraph.
The shortfall in supply is reversible, since sanitary pads and diaper production is one of the most viable industry that can be established in Nigeria. And with the government's plan to make the production of sanitary pads and diapers a national development issue, there is opportunity for investment in the industry. This is because all the raw and packaging materials input can be sourced locally.
It can be sourced locally. See, I don't know why I'm not even struggling to know what the proposal will look like. I don't know why. I think this is just one of those diets that, it's looking clear that your proposals will basically border around this. Because if you look at this now, they keep telling you this. There is a shortfall in supply, even with the fact that you are still in this industry. And it is very easy to reverse that shortfall, right? And this is one of the most viable industry. So we already know that if you are to do an NPV calculation here, it will be viable. It will be viable. Okay. And government is also planning to make this a national issue and encourage people. Maybe there will even be some form of tax incentive at the end of the day for you, right? By investing in this industry. Let's see how it goes, right? And what other thing? Basically, the conclusion is that there is a big opportunity for you to invest in industry. If you're already invested, there's a big opportunity for you to expand your investment. That's what we're saying, right? This is because, another reason, now I'm going somewhere, all the raw materials and packaging materials that you use as input can be sourced locally. So if there is even a component you currently import, there are opportunity to stop that importation by either making an arrangement with a local producer to strengthen that value, to strengthen that supply chain, or you might even need to embark on a form of backward integration, like I mentioned earlier, where you are producing diaper, you are also coming up with another machine that will give you that input. These are possible proposals. I don't think there is a very high tendency of you having a proposal that will be out of this space. I don't think so. I mean, we still need to open our mind anyways. The technology can easily be transferred to experienced workforce in Nigeria. I mean, that would just require you to embark on training, bring in some expatriate if needs be, and I mean, a matter of 1 or 2 years, the knowledge is already transferred, right? But let's still go on. I mean, we've talked about this, all of this situation of the industry. Let's still go further to look at these part, opportunities and challenges in the industry. You can go on.
Okay. Opportunities and challenges in the industry. The following are the opportunities and challenges that have been identified in the sanitary pad and diaper industry. Opportunities. These include high demand. With a growing population and increasing awareness of hygiene, the demand for sanitary pads and diapers is on the rise. The high birth rate and other uses contribute to the increasing need for diapers. Local production potential. There is a significant supply gap with a substantial shortfall between demand and current local production of sanitary pads and diapers annually. This gap presents a lucrative opportunity for local manufacturers to meet the demand and reduce dependency on imports. Technological advancements. Improvements in manufacturing technologies have enhanced the design, biodegradability, and safety of these products, making them more appealing to customers. And government support. The Nigerian government has shown interest in supporting local production to reduce import dependency and boost the economy.
All right. So before we go on to the next session, this is to not to next exhibit, next session. These are opportunities and challenges anyways, but we're looking at opportunities first. And it is very clear, high demand. We've talked about the fact that you import over 4 billion worth of diapers when we have local producers. So what can you do? Look at the fact that local production, okay, so here is local production potentials, which we are still talking about. So you can boost your own to meet that demand. Technological advancement, and this is another area that you can have a proposal or an evaluation. How can you, even you as a current player in this industry, how can you improve on this? How can you, is there any technology or any machine or any tools you can bring in to improve your product? You can start differentiating. Maybe that will set you, different from your competitors, right? So these are still opportunities in the industry. And then opportunities from the government support is also clear. We've seen the tone that government is also interested in the industry. It tells you that there is a high tendency that even though the economy is moving here and there, government can show that support either from tax incentive or so many other areas that can create that enabling environment for the sector, for you as a player. Are we together? And that's what we see. So there are a whole lot of information. I will actually, whatever model we agree to use at the end of the day, I will expect you to do a very rich analysis because, we can see that there are a whole lot of information. And from what I'm saying, I think we'll likely, probably for the purpose of this writing the report, would likely favor SWOT at the end of the day, just to write and capture all the information that we need to capture ahead of whatever it is that we will see in the exam. But what I'm trying to say is that we expect a very rich analysis. Okay. So the last part now, threats. Somebody, still you, Sarah.
Okay. Threats. These include economic challenges. High inflation rates and the rising cost of living have made sanitary products less affordable for many Nigerians. This has led to the emergence of a sachet economy, where products are sold in smaller, more affordable quantities. Competition from imports. Despite the potential for local production, imported products still dominate the market. This can lead to price fluctuations and affect the profitability of local manufacturers.
These are
Raw
serious
material.
conversation now. These are serious one. Because before we're looking at remember that we saw some threats earlier. But that's it, those are threats that affect everybody, both the manufacturers, both the banking sector, so many sectors. These are serious threats now, threats that affect the industry itself. We're still going to DEFCON itself, but let's just go on. Okay, go on. Raw materials.
Raw material sourcing. While many raw materials can be sourced locally, there are still challenges in ensuring consistent quality and supply, which can impact production. And
Okay.
health and hygiene concerns. The affordability issue had forced some women to resort to unsanitary alternatives like tissues and clothes, posing significant health risk.
By the time we are looking at the sustainability part now, these are areas you need to pay attention to. Okay, hopefully some of these are repeated there anyways, but anything health and hygiene is something, if it is a serious concern for the industry, it means as a company, as a player in that industry, we need to show that seriousness in ensuring that we are doing things right in that part. Okay, that's let's now look at the company itself. Let's look at the company. So we have a very short information, really, just one page document, and I want someone else to read about Defcon Manufacturing Limited.
Defcon Manufacturing Limited. Defcon Manufacturing Limited was incorporated in February 2005 when a manufacturer of diapers and sanitary pads, and it started operation in March 2005. The company had various product lines: luxury diapers and sanitary pads, super diapers and sanitary pads, simple diapers and sanitary pads, and recent economic diapers and sanitary pads. Defcon has its factories in 3 locations across the country: Ikeja, Port Harcourt, and Kaduna. However, it has depots in each state capital in the country from where its distributors are serviced by the depot managers. Production and marketing. The company imports about 70% of its raw materials from overseas, while the balance 30% is sourced locally. Labor is sourced locally where the factories are situated. However, the company has a technical director at the head office in Ikeja, where he oversees the production and technical issues. The marketing director oversees the sales and marketing activities of the company. Sales force and depot managers are controlled by the national sales manager based in Ikeja. Sales, promotional, and advertisement activities are directed in the head office from the office of the marketing director. There are two brand managers who manage all marketing activities of the 2 products, diaper and sanitary pads. Competition in the industry. Competition is very high in the industry, with 4 major companies that control 60% of the market share. These companies are Defcon Manufacturing Limited with 25% market share, Jameson Nigeria Limited with 15% market share, Denton Sanitary Products Nigeria Limited with 12% market share, and Nimson Products Nigeria Limited with 8% market share. Apart from these 4 companies, we have 24 other companies that control the balance of the 40% share of the market. Management and board. The company is run by a board of 6 directors, which are Chief Adeolu Oluwasere, Chairman, Ms. Titi Obadele, Managing Director, Mr. Andrew Young, Technical Director, Mr. Tafa Gambari, Finance Director, Dr. Dorcas Adetoru, Marketing Director, and Dr. Timothy Chukwemeka, Non-Executive Director. Management. The management team is made up of Ms. Titi Obadele, Managing Director, Mr. Andrew Young, Technical Director, Mr. Tafa Gambari, Finance Director, Dr. Dorcas Adetoru, Marketing Director, Mr. Abraham Ndufe, Human Resource Manager, and Mr. Tolu Adekola, Supply Chain Manager.
All right. Thank you for reading through. And here, nothing much. They didn't give you much about DEFCON Nigeria Manufacturing Limited, rather. But one thing you see here is they gave you information about competition in the industry, and they said competition is very high. Why is competition high? Why?
Because there are four major companies.
There are four major companies. DEFCON is having 25%. Others are having 15, 12, 8, and then there are still many others that takes like the other 40%. But why I'm asking that question of why is there competition in the industry, in the local market, is that you haven't even produced enough. You haven't even produced enough to cover the market, right? So you still import about 40, is it 4 billion worth of diapers now that we saw earlier or so. So it looks like the market is big enough for these guys. It looks like so. So I don't think I'm worried about any form of competitive analysis. It can come. I mean, we're opening our mind, but I don't think it's something that has a high probability that they will now dwell in the exam for you to do any form of competitive analysis. I don't know if you get my point, anyways. And then the other thing I probably want to look at quickly here is that they gave us information about the board. They gave me information about the management, and it looks like the company is well, is well staffed in terms of management and board. And the other thing I'm probably looking at is if there is a form of, although only one non-executive director, and then at the end of the day, if there is need, if I see a signal based on additional information that they need to strengthen the board, those are some of the things I might need to watch out for. But I can see that there is a proper diversity, considering that the managing director is even a female. So there is gender diversity. In terms of experience now, we've not got that details, but from what we are seeing, I don't think there is much of a problem with the board and management. Right? The other part you probably want to look at it from is maybe from the ethical point of view, and we haven't got any information that suggests that these guys there is a form of ethical issue. I haven't seen anything like that. Right?
Hello,
So
sir.
it's fine if at the end of the day we come
Hello,
up
sir.
with a
Can you hear me?
recommendation that maybe they need to strengthen some things, like the increasing the number of non-executive directors. Those can easily come in, but I don't think there is a real issue. Okay, so you guys wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
So I'm seeing the same names on the board, the same with the names on the management team.
Yeah, this
Could that not
person,
be an
right?
issue? Yes, sir, exactly.
Yeah, so this guy is normal for this guy to be part of the board anyways. It's normal for the MD to be part of the board.
Yep.
And then it's also normal for this guy as well. I mean, to be part of the board is not really an issue. I think even up to this guy is still part of the board,
They are
right?
directors.
Yeah, so it's not still even an issue. It's not even an issue. So what is most important, let me tell you now, is that no matter how, if you decide, even if you like pack everybody from your management team to be part of the board, it's not a problem. The most important thing with the board is that we now need to check that number with the number of other guys that are somehow independent. I don't know if you get it, which is what I'm speaking to say out of all this list now, if you've packed in everybody in the management team to be part of the board, which I said we don't have a problem with, but having only one non-executive director is where you probably then want to have issue with. I don't know if you get the point.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
sir.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, because you know there are so many sensitive areas. If we talk about structuring remuneration, talking about audit committee, so many things. Who are the guys that will now be in the committee? Still the management team members, right? Or is it only this guy who is a non-executive? In fact, we should even have some other executive directors that are not part of the management even before the non-executive directors. And like I said, these are things you need to be very careful with. You know, you need to identify ethical issues. This does not necessarily mean an ethical issue. It is an ethical issue if there are requirements in the law that they are violating by doing this, then you can identify it as an ethical issue. If you cannot clearly identify those things, it makes sense for you to just identify it as other issues to discuss under your other issues, so that you don't call it ethical issues. You discuss it under ethical issues, and then it flows as part of your recommendation on how they need to strengthen it. I don't know if it makes sense. Cassandra, you have a comment.
Yes, sir. Sorry, there's a rule that says that there should be equal number of executive and non-executive directors. So the way this one looks,
which rule is that one?
I think I saw it in audit or something. I can't remember, but I saw it like recently, Sha. So the way this board looks, it seems like they are violating that rule or something, and it's an ethical issue.
Okay, so I don't know. It's possible that the note is just given, but there are no rules that specifies that. As a matter of fact, right, there is no even general rule on board and governance issues. A lot of time, you know, we even rely on the OECD principles and so many other standards out there on how board structure should be. The only thing is that if it is now a listed entity or an entity that is of public interest, right? You know, there might be specific requirements from SEC and some other regulatory authorities regarding, you know, corporate governance. You get, but there are no general rules that apply to everybody. And at the end of the day, this guy here is just a DEFCON Manufacturing Limited, not a public entity. And that's why I said we have to be very careful in saying it's an ethical issue. So at the end of the day, we might identify it as an issue, but not ethical, but maybe then from there recommending how that needs to be structured. I don't know if there's any other comment, but that's now our focus area. So that any other comment so that we can move on. Or is that well noted?
Yes.
All right. So I think so that we can start wrapping up and, you know, reaching conclusions already. We've gone through quite a number of information here. The production here. Oh, I didn't even speak about this. The fact that this company imports about 70% of their raw materials. Oh, that's an opportunity anyways. And this is one reason they are probably highly exposed to the foreign exchange fluctuation. I hope you are following, and those are things to consider as an opportunity to have expansion to that aspect. So let's now look at the last part of this Preseen, and after reading this last part, we can now start driving to a conclusion. So let's look at this. Someone else, please, that I've not read today.
DEFCON's response to environmental and sustainability concerns. The current global concern for environmental and sustainability issues in production has made the board to approve that management evolve strategies to embrace green production. Therefore, the management plans to introduce new products that will significantly reduce the adverse environmental impacts of its products, while at the same time provide effective and affordable products to its customers. The following sustainable production method for sanitary pads and diapers that focus on reducing adverse environmental impacts while maintaining product effectiveness are being considered.
Okay.
Biodegradable
So before we
materials.
go there, Thank you for that. Improvement in manufacturing technologies that have enhanced the design, the biodegradability and safety of these products, making them more appealing to customers. And then there was one place that we read again. I'm trying to go there. Okay. Let's just continue. But this is an information. They said, therefore, the management plans to introduce a new product that will significantly reduce the adverse environmental impact of its products, while at the same time provide effective and affordable products to its customers. The following sustainable production method The following sustainable production methods for sanitary pads and diapers that focused on reducing adverse environmental impact while maintaining product effectiveness are being considered. These biodegradable materials, organic cotton, reusable pads, design and durability, eco-friendly manufacturing process such as energy efficiency, water conservation, and sustainable packaging. So it looks like they actually gave you a lot of information here, which we need to talk about. And before we start driving to a conclusion, let me just highlight the summary of our reviews so far. We started this report by reviewing your JD, and your JD signals strongly that you might have you might have financial analysis, even though that part has not been given. There is a tendency of us having that aspect, being examined. Let me open up my Excel. So guys, so from everything we've reviewed so far, we can say that financial analysis, right? Let's just leave it this way, financial analysis. So this is where you might need to analyze the financials, commenting on the performance and how things need to be improved. So it looks like one area that we've seen, which is part of your JD, and from trend, we can see that this has a tendency of being examined. And can there really be any major surprise from this aspect? I don't think there will be like a major surprise. It could just be as simple as giving you financial statement over a period of time for you to analyze, and maybe the biggest surprise is for you to, if they are expanding or bringing a new product, how that will also help them to improve on the numbers, and for you to consider that in your analysis. That's probably the biggest surprise. So if you're given that, it becomes the regular thing where you do your analysis over a period of time, do your changes, do your common size as we already did in our classes, compute the important ratios and see how you interpret your reports properly. I mean, before the end of the class, we'll also walk through this sample report, just on a very high level. These are things we've used in our classes just to show you how you can easily analyze your numbers. A lot of you have access to this report. All of you should have access to this report already, right? And that's what that part is really all about. The second part of this report that we have seen is that we saw a lot of information around business environment, business environmental analysis using SWOT, or it could be pastel, it could be 5 forces, etc. Right? These are things that we've seen. We are trying to bring everything down now. So we've seen a lot of information around this, and with high tendency of facing this in the exam. And then the other part is we have also seen that there is a tendency of having a proposal for either expansion. Expansion could be location, it could be new product. And we see that these guys are already strategically located. They are located in which state again? They are located in Abuja. They are located in Abuja. I think 3 locations.
Lagos, Port Harcourt.
Good. And aside from that, they also have like an outlet. Was the outlet they called it in almost all the other states that they then use for what? For distributing their product and all. So it tells you that location expansion it might not even be in the picture. Are you with me? So we might not expect, we need to construct a building in another state or this. We might not see anything like that, right? So if we are talking about proposal, any form of proposal for expansion, it could be expansion to new products, as we have already seen, because somewhere in that preseen here, they just mentioned that they are looking at management is planning to introduce new products that will significantly reduce the adverse of environmental impact on its products. And then the other thing we have seen is a signal that we could have a proposal to close the input or raw material sourcing gap, right? Which will be a form of backward integration. Now, and then the fifth one, from what we have analyzed so far, is that we have also seen a signal that now it's not limited to this, because one thing we need to do in these 2 areas is that we need to come and look at all of these options they said they are considering. This one, that one, this one, that one, this one, that one, and all of this. And then the 5th part that we have also seen is sustainability reporting, right? Which is also clearly part of your JD. If I go back to the beginning of the report, it says it is part of your JD. It is part of your responsibility. Where is that? It is part of your responsibility to advise the board and management on sustainability issues and assisting in the preparation of the company's annual sustainability report to stakeholders. This is not a proposal. This JD is not a proposal. It's not for you to evaluate proposal. It is a JD that says that you are responsible for preparing a sustainability report to stakeholders. So it makes sense for us to clearly identify it as one of those things that you might face in the exam. So let me zoom a bit just so you can see the areas we have identified. Before we speak further on some of these, especially this part now, and then we dwell more on the last one. I think those are the areas we need to focus on now. Financial analysis, nothing much. It follows the fact that if you need to revisit some of the classes we've done on financial analysis, you need to revisit it really. I'll also drop this material once we are done, just so that you can look at some of the financial analysis we've done in the past. I mean, the videos are there for those of you that have access to the video. You can use that. The business analysis part, I mean, you can leverage on even past reports which are on the drive, right? So, just to see what ratio SWOT analysis, how best to present it, or if you are choosing to use pastel, how best to present it. That's also an easy one. And we've walked through these questions. We've seen like 1,000 threats, 1,000 opportunities, and strength and weaknesses as well. Those are basically things you need to identify in there, right? And I mean, if you look at this information, let me ask you, did you see so much of internal factors being discussed? Let's use SWOT now. Did you see much much of strength and weaknesses being discussed?
No.
No, sir.
No.
Opportunities and threats.
No. It's more of opportunities and threats. And opportunities and threats, are they internal or external?
External.
External. Good. So pastel is actually a model that focuses on external factors only. So I will not be surprised if you are specifically asked or expected to even use pastel and not SWOT. So if you are the type that have time, especially for those of you writing case study only, I mean, I will not advise those for people like Faye that are writing all the papers and Esther that are writing all the papers. But if you're the type that are even writing maybe just case study and maybe just 2 papers and you've got the time, see, in the report I'll be expecting from you this evening, if you do 2 separate sessions, one using SWOT, one using pastel, is not bad. So that in the exam, when you now have the actual information, in fact, hopefully we'll have at least one person that will even do it anyways, so that others that will do just one will be able to also leverage on that report, right? So I don't know if you understand what I mean, what I'm saying. A lot of the information we've gone through is just more of external. Am I correct?
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we cannot get internal. In fact, at least we have information about the company's, look at this part. We have information about the company's production, raw material. This is a big weakness. This one now is a big weakness. So what I'm saying is not to say that we cannot identify quite a number of weaknesses and strengths. Do you agree with me that this is a weakness? Who agrees with me?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Agreed.
You import over 70% of your materials. So what relationship are you establishing with the local suppliers to avoid the exchange rate problem? Or what plan do you have in doing the backward integration we mentioned earlier to close this gap, or to at least reduce it? How can you be importing so many this big percentage of your raw materials? So it's a weakness, and we can go on and on to identify more like that. So if you are actually doing SWOT, there are a whole lot of information as well. Are we together? So and then, I mean, if we are looking at the fact that the company is also having serious concern for environment and they show care for the environment, and is also clearly is clearly written in their strategic plan that they want to do things in an environmentally friendly way, is also a form of strength. It's also a form of strength, right? So those are basically, so what I'm trying to do at this point is to just basically close these two so that when you're taking it out, you're able to give me a very robust analysis with information we've gone through together to be able to do tidy this part. So are you good to go? So maybe some of you, let me put it this way. Feel free to use either SWOT or pastel or both for this part. Are you okay with that? Feel free to use either pastel or SWOT for your report, or both. You can, sometimes the instruction is always clear, but we ignore it. If you are very busy, don't do both. Esther, you said yes, don't do both. Are we
Yes, sir.
together? Very,
Yes,
very important.
sir.
So if you're writing 5 papers, 4 papers, you are very busy, you still need to catch up with a lot of things this evening, you're doing both, then we will have serious fight when I see that in your report. So don't do both, just use one, choose the one to use and just go straight and, prepare your report. Once you're done, close it and move on with other things. If you've got the time, let's have both done. If you don't want to do both, choose any of the two. And I think I'm comfortable with any of the two. In the exam, things will now be a bit clearer when we see the actual requirement, and then we'll know the one to do. Is that a good conclusion on the business analysis part?
Yes.
All right, all right, all right. So the next one is, unfortunately, we won't be able to do much on the financial analysis part. I wish I could give you an assumed numbers now. What I can do, I can cook numbers for you. Okay, it's fine. Let's not just do the unnecessaries. Maybe what we can do when we are getting to the concluding part of this class, I will tell you what to do. What I would just want you to do is demonstrate that you can write a good report when it comes to the financial analysis part in terms of structuring, and then we'll talk about that part just 2 minutes when we conclude on every other thing. So the next thing is all the other information we've gone through: proposal to expand to new product, proposal to close raw material sourcing gap, maybe through backward integration, or the last one, which is sustainability reporting. Is there any other one you think I am missing from what we've reviewed so far, and from your JD as well? Is there any other thing you think I'm missing?
It talks about forecast.
It talks about forecast. If we put that as number 6, even though this one now can be, or let me just say forecast. It's somehow it can be somehow embedded in these two. Can be somehow embedded in number 3 and 4, right? Because a lot of time, like I said earlier, you're giving the price now, the raw material prices, the selling price, and all of those information. You have the rate at which it will be increasing over the years. You need to forecast and then do your analysis. That can be regarded as forecast as well. Are we together? So, but let's just leave it this way. And any other
in
thing?
that JD, I think there is one of the JD that's say something about report on operational and strategic business analysis.
Yeah, so this one is, it says, this one, assessing the operational and strategic business proposals to see how that align with the strategic objective of the business and financial risk. Assessing the company's financial and business forecast together with the assumption of which in all of this, analyzing the company's internal and external environment, this one, and then advising the board on the, I think we've captured it all, right? Yeah, so this part now, This part is the proposal part, is the part we're looking at the fact that we can have some proposals on the table to work on. Yeah, go on. You have a question.
Mr. Sion, how about ethical issues?
Oh, that's an
I said
embedded
no.
one. We've
Okay.
said it. It's embedded. In any case study report, you have to be looking for ethical issue. Are there ethical issues? Are there ethical issues? Whether it's required or not is embedded. Which is why we were having conversation about the board structure the other time. So you have to be looking for it. In your own scene as well, be scanning. Are there any additional information that suggests any form of ethical issue? It has to be raised. Does that make sense? If you read it, it says out of this mark, approximately 10 marks will be assigned for your proper consideration of ethical issues within your answers, within the requirement. Although ethical issues is not a specific requirement on this paper. So nobody will ask you, oh, identify ethical issues as second requirement. No. So it's embedded. It's naturally given that you identify ethical issues in your case study exam. I hope that makes sense to everyone.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, yep.
Okay, sorry. The proposal for the new product, will it include proposing for a new machine?
Yeah, we haven't dived further into that. So that's the part we want to look at now is the proposal and then the sustainability part. So, but before we even dwell more on that part, right? I'm just asking if there is any other part we haven't captured. I think that should be all from what we've read so far, so that we can now dwell more on the proposals and sustainability reporting. Are we good?
Yes, that is fine. I know that unaudited financial statements are under part of other issues. What are the other likely items to make that other issues aside of unaudited financial statement or maybe some minor ethical issues or thereabouts?
Yeah, so what we usually discuss under other issues are those issues we cannot categorically say they are ethical issues. If they are ethical issues, we have to discuss them under ethical issues, or even under other issues, right? But there are so many other things that might not necessarily be ethical issues. For example, you're giving an unaudited account. It's not an ethical issue, right? So what you then need to do is maybe just to identify it under other issues, that the account that have been presented to you is not audited and all of those. Those are not even serious things, right? So the only thing that can make it a big issue, not even ethical, is if you see that the last 3 years that is presented to you is not audited, is still unaudited, or 2 years, last 2 years unaudited. So it might make sense that you discuss it. Is it ethical? No. Is it unethical? No. You can't say that because they haven't audited the account is unethical. So those are the things we need to understand. There are so many others that you just need to raise. For example, ethical issues. What are they doing with their competitors? Are they competing in a very ethical way? If there are things they are doing that doesn't make sense, identify it as an ethical issue. So a perfect guide to ethical issue will always be what you actually have in your question. Let me go there, where here you're paying attention to lack of professional independence or objectivity. For example, maybe they are telling you that the auditor is a brother to that chairman or the managing director. It's an ethical issue. Something like that. Or just anything that can suggest some form of independence or objectivity issue. Right? Look at the second one, conflict among stakeholders. A good example of this that can easily fall under ethical issues is maybe you are planning to bring in that machine, and that machine, even though it's going to do this, but it's not environmentally friendly. So stakeholders is not only when you are looking at management and shareholders, even the community is the stakeholder. So how are you impacting on the environment? Those are things that can easily become an ethical issue.
Make law in that regard. That are some mentions because of the environmental implications should not be imported.
Should not be imported, exactly. So if you go to import same, or you are doing things in a way you should not do, or maybe there are even rules around the fact that things need to be reusable through recycling and all of that, you know, if you're not complying, those are clear ethical issues. If there are issues around tax, you're not complying, those are clear ethical issues. Look at the next one: doubtful accounting or creative accounting practices. If you see any of that in your unseen, maybe from the numbers, everything is not aligning, those are clear ethical issues. Unethical business or commercial practices. We have seen cases where the employees are being bribed, or the employees are bribing some officials to get some information. Those are clear ethical issues that need to be identified. Inappropriate pressure to achieve result. You know, in this question now, you are Matthew Demuda, and you are an accounting graduate writing the professional level exam, and let's say there is a big pressure from this your Oga Tafa Gambari, who is telling you to treat some items in certain way that you are so sure that it is not in line with your financial reporting frameworks, then those are ethical issues. Or is asking you to just do things that are not ethical, those are things we need to clearly identify as ethical issues. It's always very clear. Anything that is not ethical, ensure that you discuss them as other issues, not ethical issues. Okay, so let's.
Sorry, Simeon.
Yep.
So is it okay to combine ethical issues and other issues together, or we must give them separate headings?
Yeah, so I only, it doesn't even make sense to write other issues, ethical issues, or maybe ethical issues, other issues. What I tell students is, if you've just identified so many issues, some are ethical, some are unethical, I'll prefer that you create that after you've done the first part of the requirement, the second part of the requirement, your heading should be like maybe other issues. It's safer that way. So that heading, other issue, or that subheading, other issue, will give you the opportunity to discuss both ethical issue and other issue in there. Don't forget, what they are marking is not the heading, it is the content. So just your heading being other issues is fine. In there, you can then discuss any other thing, whether it is ethical or unethical. Anything that is an issue, just discuss it there. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So, okay. So before I speak further on this, let me know your comment generally on the proposals: new products, expansion, the raw material, backward integration. Let's have a look at the sustainability concern for the organization as well. And I just want to see what you think you could possibly have in this part. Okay, so any comment before we start, concluding and wrapping up this part?
Okay, so I feel for the introduction of the new products, they might ask us to talk on new products. According to the industry, I think there are 4 products. There's sanitary pad, there's diaper, there's napkin, there's wipes, and then DEFCON is only doing sanitary pad and diapers, I think. So they might want to introduce the other 2. I don't know.
Okay. So what you're speaking to is this part, the fact that there is diaper, sanitary pad, napkin, and wipes, right?
Yes.
And they are only into
diapers and sanitary pad.
Diapers, sanitary pad. They have the luxury one, they have the super one, and they have the simple one. 3 types now. Both diapers and sanitary
There are
pad.
4 types, and the economy.
Oh, sorry, economy, 4 types.
Okay.
Okay. But basically diapers and sanitary pads. So at the moment, if we look at even focusing on this alone, where is that again? No, it hasn't gone that far now. I just wanted, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to read this. So it says diapers, sanitary pads, there's napkin, there's wipes. And what did he say? He says in the area of job creation and economic growth, he further described the sector as a developing category with strong growth prospects, considering the high fertility and birth rate in Nigeria, with women producing, and that will probably continue to increase at the rate of.
Fertility is
Okay.
small.
You said what?
They say Nigeria are producing baby and they are so fertile. The economy is not fertile.
Okay, so we see that if we are talking about these guys, there are three things we've identified in that case. So if we are talking about this new product, new products. These new products, we've seen that it could be entirely new products. So entirely new product will follow a very similar way you've been doing orders, possibly even the same machine, or we require a different type of machine. For example, the wipes might require a different machine. And if you are to do that, it's also possible to have a maybe an acquisition of a company that is already into that anyways. That you should not close your mind on. Let's just keep it somewhere here. Acquire an already or an existing company. For the new product, right? Because there are so many other small companies. And don't forget, we are the leader in the industry as far as the economy is concerned. But we are just talking about that there is a tendency for new products, whether you want to develop it organically by buying machine and all of those, that will come as having your information very similar to what you've had in previous diet, where they give you information about how much you need to invest, how much you generate from sales, be able to identify, if possible, forecast over a period of time what the cash flow will be, and then analyze. And this is where you might have yourself dealing with maybe a simple profitability analysis, or it could even be profitability or contribution analysis. Contribution analysis. I repeated that twice, sorry. Or it could even include break-even analysis, or it could be a form of MPV now, our regular MPV. And then you need to understand that whichever is being examined is always very straightforward. You have to be able to just say, this is what the sales will be over a period of time. This is what the cost will be. This is other information to be able to estimate. If you need to discount to consider time value of money, which is the one that will lead you to MPV, you need to be able to do that. And these are likely possibilities that these are likely workings you need to do if you are to be evaluating a new product. But if it is to be an acquisition, it will be a form of valuation. Maybe there is a proposal Someone is saying they want to sell, they already have the existing business you are planning to go into. So in that case, you are looking at if it's worth buying, how much should you offer, and then it follows everything we have done in our merger and acquisition class, right? In SFM. For those of you that have written SFM, if you haven't written SFM, those are some of the things you might need to revise depending on whether you have time for it, right? Before your exam. So, I mean, let's just keep it here. Still on the new product. This is talking about an entirely new product, but one that we have also identified. If you look at this in this question, is speaking on introducing new product now, is that they have actually specifically mentioned here that the management plans to introduce new products that will significantly reduce the adverse environmental impact of its products, while at the same time provide an effective and affordable product to its customers. The following sustainable production methods for sanitary pads and diapers that focus on reducing adverse environmental, all of these things are also being considered. So the question I want to ask you is, these things, this paragraph here, and this paragraph with all this information given here, are they speaking to the same thing? Let's look at it critically. The management plan to introduce new products that will significantly reduce the environmental impact of its products, while at the same time provide effective and affordable products to its customers. That's one. The following sustainable production method for sanitary pads and diapers that focus on reducing adverse environmental impact while maintaining product effectiveness are being considered. So what can you say about this really? Because it sounds like you are considering this on your existing products just to ensure that you are environmentally friendly. And then this part is speaking to the fact that you're looking at a new product. I don't know if how you're seeing it. Any comment on that?
Okay, I am seeing it as what they are producing before is not environmentally friendly, and now they are suggesting to produce something that is environmentally friendly using these things they've listed.
Okay, which is a very good point. Okay, any other comment on that, please?
I think they're trying to improve their products from what they use in producing it before to this new line of materials.
that
Maybe
can
by
offer
getting what they're
benefits.
using before and then using this new one to produce it to make it more environmentally friendly, and then
For
a bit cheaper.
example,
And I think it's a bit cheaper compared to what they were using to produce before, because they said it's going to be affordable to customers.
Okay, so if I get you now, it's more like they are not even introducing so you are saying they are not introducing a fresh product. It's more like we've talked about the parts of introducing a fresh product, which is the fact that right now they are only into what's the name again? They are only into diapers and what's the second thing?
Sanitary pads.
And sanitary pads, but they are not into napkins and wipes, right? And that's what we've discussed here to say there is still a possibility of them considering a new product, right? And if they are doing that, the requirement to be like this: either they are going this route of developing internally or acquiring a company which does that new product already, and they just want to bring it in directly. That's one. What you are now saying here is that on the existing products, they have identified the fact that in terms of environmentally friendliness, it can be improved upon. And because of that, they are probably considering introducing a new phase of those products, of those existing products. Is that it? That will give us a fresh look that is environmentally friendly and is still affordable at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Simeon.
Yeah.
All these things are there. These biodegradable materials, organic coatings, reusable parts. Is it not possible that I'm looking at it in a way that it's not possible to apply all those things? Are those suggestibles, these things not optionals?
So which one? Like, do you mean all of these items are optional? Or?
Yes, they appears like optionals.
Yeah. So what we are saying is it might be an optional, but what we are saying is what's the plan of the organization? Because it is the plan that will drive the proposal that will give us at the end of that they will give us at the end of the day. So they are saying here that they want to introduce new products that will be more environmentally friendly and all of these things. And they said the company is the following sustainable methods of sanitary pads and diapers that focused on reducing those environmental impacts and are being considered. And then they talked about biodegradable materials, the use of these and composable materials such as banana and bamboo fibers to produce sanitary pads and diapers. So this tells us that they are still talking about sanitary pads and diapers.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Hello, yes. But what I mean is method. I mean all these method cannot be adopted altogether. Is either they adopted that one of biodegradable materials, organic cotton to suit a friendly environment production process. I think that is what I'm just trying to emphasize on.
Oh, okay. I get you now. I get you. So what you're asking is whether these things are like they are considering which one to go for. Should they use this? Or should they use organic cotton? Or should they use reusable pad? You know, I guess that's the angle you are coming from. But
Absolutely.
okay, but from what I'm seeing here, it might actually be using a combination of several of these to be able to achieve that result. And if we read further, just again, look at this. It says the use of these materials such as banana and bamboo fibers to produce sanitary pads and diapers, these materials decompose naturally and reduce plastic waste. And it says organic cotton, using organic cotton grown without synthetic pesticides and fertilizers to help reduce adverse environmental impact. I'll focus on the first three for now. So reusable pads, reusable clothes pads made from absorbent cotton materials can be washed and reused multiple times to significantly reduce waste. So the question I want to ask is, does this look like a mutually exclusive materials? That if you use this, you cannot use this. If you use this, you cannot use this. I think that's the first question that I want to ask. So let's hear opinion. We're driving to conclusions already because, in fact, it's already clear. Because just before we continue, we've been able to drill down to the fact that proposal is highly probable, right? So this first part, number 3, is more probable than even number 4. Number 4 is coming from the fact that there is a very huge gap from the importing of over 75% of their raw material to so many other things. And then there can be a proposal on how they actually want to close that gap by producing locally. We've seen the opportunity there as well. But the first one is the proposal for expansion to new products. And we've said this expansion can be producing a fresh, brand new product to areas they have not been looking at before, like the napkin and wipes, right? Which can come as a way of organic growth or acquisition. Whether they will consider acquisition, I don't think so, because these guys are emphasizing on environmental friendliness, right? And if you look at acquisition, if you are acquiring, the question will be, are you acquiring based on the fact that the company you are acquiring, maybe a smaller company, they are already doing things in an environmentally friendly way? Think about it. So how will acquiring a company even align with the fact that you are channeling your energy towards doing things in a more environmentally friendly way? How will it align with that goal? So acquiring an existing company might actually not support that goal, such that at the end of the day, organic development is the one that might actually make sense for any decision you are taking. And in organic decision, whether you want to introduce a freshly new product, it can come in form of have your information either in 1 or 2 pages that will require you to do a profitability or a contribution analysis of whatever proposal that is on the table to talk about the viability, or it could even be a break-even analysis or maybe a simple NPV analysis. We've talked about that. The other part we are now talking about is if we are not introducing a freshly new product, right? It could come this way, which is what we are looking at now. To say we could be looking at our existing products. We want to change the face. Not like the way it looks now, but we want to change the face for it to be more environmentally friendly. And we are considering all of these things that we're looking at here. And my question, so that we can drive towards a conclusion, my question is, especially for those who are more conversant with this, is if I look at, let's focus on the first 3 for now. Does it appear that these materials or these items here are mutually exclusive, or they are actually something that looks like they can consider all of them together to improve their product in a more environmentally friendly way or environmental friendly way? Okay, so those are the comments we probably want to hear at this point.
I think they can combine the 3 together to make it more environmental friendly in such a way that they can use the cotton and add it to the first one, the second one, and they will create a new product. The way they have luxury economy, and they will just probably have a new product, name it, give it another name, and then the combination of all these benefits now also making sure that it's like environmental friendly. I don't know. I think they can. I don't think it's mutually. I don't know. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
The organic coatings and reusable pad can be complements, but that of biodegradable materials, bamboos and bamboo fibers, they're entirely raw materials. If you look at that one, it is entirely raw materials that is quite different from that organic coatings and reusable pad, which have an element of a clothes and coatings material that can be washed and this whatever like that.
Combination of the 3 will still give pad, no?
Okay, so I'm just looking at, so I'm just seeing this again. The part that says these materials decompose naturally and reduce plastic waste. Does this align with the fact that this third one, we're looking at a reusable cloth pads made from absorbent cotton materials?
Okay.
Okay.
We cannot get
clothes,
bamboos and bananas peel or whatever.
I think the reusable pad is going to be independent on its own because it doesn't align with
because it will be
biodegradable.
disposed, yeah?
Yes.
It does not align with the biodegradable materials, yes.
But I think it is just subjected to sanitary pad alone, not the diaper.
Okay, so maybe another thing we need to consider is the fact that these guys have different products anyways. And at the same time, they have different class. Is it class? I think class is a good word to put it, because we've seen economy, simple, luxury.
Different lines.
So maybe at the end of the day, these are things they need to bring together. It might not be all of them. They said they are considering. So at the end of the day, consideration could be looking at one of these 2, 1 or 2 or 3 of these that work together, another 1 or 2 or 3 that work together for another type, another 1 or 2 or 3 that work together, and at the end of the day, they work with the ones that can basically help them to make their product more environmentally friendly. Now, the other part is these are materials. These are materials. Reusable pads. We also require a material that will help us achieve a reusable pad. Design and durability. That's more of quality now, right? Incorporating multiple layers for better absorbency and all of those. Eco-friendly manufacturing process. This one is talking about process such as energy efficiency, implementing energy efficiency manufacturing process. It's talk about how you are reducing carbon footprint and all of that, right? Water conservation, introduce technique to minimize water usage during production. Environmental issues, then sustainable packaging, introducing a compostable material for packaging and reduce plastic waste and all of those. So it looks like if you look at all of this one now, they are not options. They are things that you want to do together to achieve an environmentally friendly production process, right? So this one is very clear.
Yes.
So now going back to the first to the first three or the first four, right? I can say that it looks like things that we're just considering, and anyone that is feasible, we incorporate it into our processes. That's what I can see. But the other thing I want to look at is that there was a problem. There was a problem of importing over 70% of your materials. So how are we navigating this? How are we navigating it? Are we saying that these things are currently being produced locally or they are still being imported? So it is possible. I'm looking at what that proposal would look like. So a proposal from who now? Or are we proposing, or we want to bring in the machine that can give us these raw materials? And this is where it might be hitting this particular one now. It might be hitting this proposal. It might be hitting this number 4. That
Yes,
it might even be a form of backward integration, bringing in a system that can give you those materials that are environmentally friendly. So for this now, 2 options that we bring from this number 4. 2 options that we bring out of this number 4. A proposal for full backward integration I think I wrote it twice. Don't mind me. Full backward integration to produce those environmental friendly materials now. Or proposal from supplier now. From supplier, either a local supplier or an external, a supplier, local or foreign, supplier of those sustainable materials of the sustainable materials. It can be 2. It can be 2 proposals that you are evaluating this one to compare 2 proposals. Maybe there is a proposal from a supplier and you want to compare it with engaging in a backward integration to see which one will be more friendly. I think those are the things we are looking at here. And with this really, let me see how to better map this thing. If you look at this is number 4. This is number 4. This is number 4, right? And number 3 is yeah, you can go ahead, Catherine, with your question if you have any.
Okay, sir. So I don't believe I'm thinking this too far, but sourcing locally in the Nigerian economy, we have issues with insecurity. Won't it actually reduce our raw material? Is it not better to have a proposal from suppliers, foreign suppliers, to be able to provide more?
At the end of the day, we don't, insecurity is the problem of, is affecting us, but it's for the government to solve. And also for us to contribute. I'm just okay, it's not for us to solve anyways. We just need to look at the impact on us. And at the end of the day, the major focus on all of these options is whether it's commercially viable. So the company will look at it. Is it cheaper to have a quote or an offer or a proposal from a foreign supplier, or for us to invest in this, or for us to have, if we have a local supplier that can give us the same thing, whichever is commercially better for us to go into, we go for it. So it's not a matter of, so far it aligns with the strategic goal to ensure environmental friendliness, right? So that's one thing we want to consider. So, but I think this is what is looking like if it needs to tend, because these items now are raw materials. You have a plan to introduce new products. Do you currently have these materials? Do you want to be importing them? How exactly do you want to navigate this material can be the proposal. And that's our point. And that's why we come up to say, to close the material sourcing gap, it could be a full backward integration where you now want to start producing it. Or it could be a proposal for the supply of those materials from either a local or foreign supplier. In fact, if it is any of these two, it will still be, it might be the two for you to evaluate and see which one is cheaper. That can be the exercise. Or it could be, yeah, I think it could be any of the two actually. It could be any of the two. And even on this side, it could be either from a foreign or a local. So from a local supplier. So it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they will just look at which one pays them to embark on. Yeah. So any question before we drive further?
Sorry, Mr. Simeon. I think
Yeah.
there is under the technology there. I think that what is that product? The first product. It was mentioned there that they were it is one of the technology that they were using to appeal to their customer.
Which part is that?
Maybe it is marketing or something like that. I think we have read something like that under technology.
Okay, this one that says improvement in manufacturing technologies improvement in manufacturing technologies have enhanced the design, biodegradability and safety of this product, making them more appealing to customers. And we read this under the industry. We read this under the industry. And when we read that they are actually trying to embark on this part, we also, looked into that in a more, and And let's not forget that this is the global, is this not the global? Okay, this is Nigerian industry. I'm trying to see. He talked about both global, okay, he talked about both global and Nigeria actually. So, but this is then the area they want to focus on to see how they can make all of these things more environmentally friendly. So I'm also going to share a link on the WhatsApp group now. I'm just going to drop it once it's time. I'll drop a link on the professional level group. Okay, so before we go into the sustainability part, I think it looks quite clear. I don't know if there's any comment on the proposal part, but it looks like we have like a direction, and it is just for us to, before you write, we're going to conclude on what we need to do now. But before we write the report, it makes sense that you go back to those diets that we've seen proposals, especially last 2-3 diets that we've seen proposals, to see how the question came and how the analysis was done, especially the appendix now, right? And that's one thing you need to do as part of your assessment in the after the class. Very, very important. But I think from what we've seen so far, these two are highly probable. And then these two broken down to the fact that you can have this, any of this option, or if it is a proposal around the raw materials, it can also come in this form. Any other comments, guys?
Sorry, Simeon.
Yep.
Is it that I know we don't have the questions now, but depending on this thing, will we have to do both proposals? Like, are there situations where we might have to do both proposals?
In the actual exam or in this, our simulation?
In our simulation, like to do both proposals.
Okay, so one thing about proposals is
like
that we don't even, one thing about proposals is that the ICAN has never even given us information before to be able to actually work it out. So the highest I've gone to tell students to do is to actually demonstrate the pattern they want to use, that, oh, maybe when you're writing a report, you can demonstrate that maybe header, evaluation of the proposal to introduce new products that are more environmentally friendly, something like that. And then you are able to demonstrate that, oh, in assessing this, this will entail carrying out a forecast of the cash flows relating to the product over a number of years to be able to evaluate and calculate the the return or the profitability, or maybe to calculate MPV. Just demonstrating that is enough for me, right? So just the awareness is what you need for the proposal part, so that when you now see the question, you are good to go to start calculating, right? So ICAN will never give you actual information on proposal since we started having this. And it will not make sense for us to even start placing numbers on it, because students, some of us do things carefully. And I know students very well. So some students it will shock you that some of us will cram those numbers, whether it is what ICAN brings out at the end of the day or not. Some of us will take those numbers in like that and say, yes, that's what I'm writing. I don't even care. So meanwhile, that is actually like a complete, so that's why we just need to be aware that these are the areas that can be tested. Let me familiarize myself with how proposals are usually dealt with in terms of calculating the profitability, the revenue, the expenses, and all of those things that need to be forecasted, and then do a proper calculation. That's all, right? So the next one is, has anyone opened that link I shared?
Yes.
I think I'm also trying to open it on my system here. All right, so this is just about a sustainability report. And although what I'm going to do while you're writing your report is I'll get you a good template before 7 p.m. I mean, you can also get, there are many annual reports that has sustainability reporting, you know, a normal actual sustainability report now. So you can get it in many annual reports. But let's just walk through this really. So it talks about the content of a sustainability report, which should reflect the outcome of a formal process that is fully documented so that there is a record of diligence and commitment to reporting and based on information that can, and all of these long stories that we can read. It says, while international standards like the GRI standards provide a useful framework for comprehensive. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
But it was small before. Okay. Verification and reporting. Organizations should remember that it is important to tailor the information in their report to the needs and expectation of the specific primary audience. It becomes more and more common among larger companies to generate large reports with glossy pictures, right? And then it goes on to tell you a whole lot of stories, common elements and disclosures. Excuse me. All right, so common elements in the report. While the formatting and presentation of financial reporting has become somewhat standardized due to regulatory requirements and all of that, so let's just skip all of this part. But let's focus on the fact that there is no template in terms of format, length, and detail that apply to a sustainability report, right? One can find a wide array or creative approach of presenting information that is related to sustainability. The person responsible for preparing sustainability reports should seek out, review a comparable report prepared by, can you see, by similar organizations. Now we need to get sustainability report from typical manufacturers of similar products we're talking about now. Okay, and see how that can be useful. But generally speaking, it comes with giving all of these statements. It says review of the sustainability report and recommends that. See, we can't be going to, it's a very long information, but we have CEO statement, executive summary, overview of the organization, governance and accountability, sustainable policy and mission statement. So this might not be the attention in your own exam. This might not be the attention, right? Sustainability risk management, material sustainability factors, and this might be the area that we need to start paying attention to now, right? So if you look at the way your exam is structured, you might want to prepare a sustainability report that speaks on key areas like about the company, talk about the sustainability risk management. We have issues around FS risk and some other risks that we've identified, right? You want to speak about that. You want to talk about material sustainability. We have been talking about this so much. So you probably want to read this to have a better and more views, sustainable targets, policies, practice, and performance, description of sustainability reporting framework. These are some of the things you want to speak to, but these are still, general. It says, in preparing this disclosure, attention should be paid to the following: economic consideration. And this is where sustainability reporting can even capture some of those things you're also doing in SWOT and PESTEL, right? Environmental issue. These are clear sustainability discussions that you need to, incorporate. Ethics and integrity, right? Disclosing the organization's value, principle, and all of that. For example, ethical issues, guys, is not even a must that is only a negative thing you're talking about. Do you know that the fact that this company is showing a concern for environment is an ethical issue to discuss, not a negative one now, but a positive one? I don't know if it makes sense. The fact that they are showing concern to do things in a more environmentally friendly way, it's an ethical maybe I'm looking for a way to eliminate the word issue now. It's an ethical discussion that you need to bring to your report. Are we together? So governance and compliance, maybe those of you that are speaking about governance, they are not doing this. See, sustainability report will give you those opportunity, as you can see. And social impact, stakeholders engagement, these are a series of other things we can consider: customers, suppliers, employment in the environment, and even employees. And all of these things are sustainability reporting issues that you probably want to read this particular one. We get a template from a manufacturing annual report and see what a typical, I'll share that on the group. And if anyone gets it first, you can share that, so that while we are writing our report, we can look at specific template and work with. And what I will want you to go is read this, read the detail, because you have 4 hours after this class now, or close to 5 hours, to actually focus on one, SWOT or PESTEL. 2, demonstrate how you would approach a typical proposal. And the good thing about this second one is that you guys have access to the Preseen simulation report for last diet. Please go and utilize it. See how they demonstrated. You can pick the best and just leverage on it. Just demonstrate. And the third aspect that I want you to work on is to prepare a sustainability report. Which captures those various areas that we have, identified. We won't be able to do so much on this number 2, just like we won't also be able to do so much on the financial analysis, because we haven't been given numbers. And this looks like the core areas we might want to focus on this Preseen, while we still have our mind open to the fact that proposals can come in all of these different forms that we have identified. The proposals can even be so much that they will ignore sustainability report and you won't see anything on it. It could be so big that they will test sustainability with it and ignore anything SWOT or PESTEL. So we just need to keep our mind open. And that's the last note that I would like to give you. And let me know if you have any questions, so that I'm being cautious of time, so that you can start writing the report. And all I need to now do is feed you with some additional information on the WhatsApp group in terms of sample report, and then you can start, so that by 7 p.m. you leave anything case study and focus on your other courses.
Hello, Simeon.
Yep.
Yeah, what I wanted to get clear about this sustainability report, it seems it's new approach from ICAN, and as well, if we are to look at annual report of corporate organization, sustainability report is not part of the FS. It's more or less like non-FS.
Yeah, sure.
So
it's under, it's part of what you did in CR as part of beyond financial reporting. Let me put it that way, if anyone remembers that.
Of course, more or less like ESG. That is environmental sustainability and governance, and not this report like that.
Yeah.
That is more or less to complement what cannot be expressly stated in with numericals value.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then another thing is that I wanted to get how to probably integrate this in report. Is it coming after business analysis? I know it won't come before conclusion. Is this coming after other issues? Because
no, if they want you to do this now, it will be a full session. It will take a whole session. That you should prepare a full, the way the requirement is usually structured. It could be,
it will be entire report separately. if we are to look at it, probably not be part of.
It will probably be an entire requirement or a major part of a requirement where, look at, why is this moving? It could come like this. It could, you see where they broke this one anyways, they broke it into 3, but it could just be one of these. It could be something like this. Look at it. Number 3 says an informed report on process improvement, training, etc. needed to do what? To remediate the recurring auditor's observation. It could be a requirement like this, asking you to also write a sustainability report to the stakeholders, identifying this. They can even be a bit friendly and tell you the areas to focus on. Maybe focusing on raw material sustainability, environmental, ecological, or maybe governance and stuff like that. They can be very specific, or they will just make it general and tell you to write a sustainability report, and that's why we are trying to read, for example, the information I showed on LinkedIn, the information we'll see in the annual report, just to see what a typical structure looks like. And that's it.
Absolutely, it can be integrated into the normal report. Why it can be required to be a separate report.
Yep. So I think that's basically it. Any other question, guys?
Question. So this second requirement that you said, illustrate how you approach a typical proposal. I want to understand what you want us to do here.
So like I said, I actually don't want you to do much in that part. So what someone has done before is picking up a typical, how a proposal has been given to say, for example, you could create a dummy, or let's say a random header to say evaluation of the proposal for the introduction of new and more environmentally friendly products, right? And then there you're just explaining how you want to go about a typical information that is given relating to a proposal that needs to be evaluated for viability or for whether it's acceptable or not, right? Where you're saying, your typical calculation will start from analyzing the payment, the outflows required from the initial commitment. Either you're choosing to approach it from an MPV side or from a normal profitability side. So if it requires initial commitment, you are looking at the commitment, you are looking at the inflows that the project will generate, different from what you're currently generating, more like the incremental amount, to then, if it requires inflating it over time, get the net, do your discounting if you're approaching it from MPV, or so you are not calculating, you are just demonstrating that if they ask you that, you understand the procedure to do that. So what I normally do is to just keep that open, to just see whatever you can do. I don't expect anything much from there, such that the major attention will now be a detailed SWOT or PESTEL analysis and the sustainability report. And of course, your report will have every other component as we already discussed, from your cover page to your table of content to your executive summary and every other section that is necessary. And don't forget, the good thing about that report is that you would have been able to write like your introduction. You have all the information to write your introduction. You have all the information. And those are some of the things you can easily, without taking it to the exam actually, but you can easily get ready for them already to write them in the exam. I don't know if that makes sense. So, and that's basically my expectation. Are we good?
Sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Sir, this financial, can you hear me? This financial analysis part, we should just leave it blank, right? We should leave the space for it.
You can leave it blank, and you can also demonstrate the same way as you're doing for number 2. Demonstrating will just be to show that, you can decide to even create a very short session to say your first session will be on profitability analysis, or maybe common size and trend. Next session will be on profitability, and your attention will be on this ratio, and maybe your efficiency ratio. Next one, obviously you won't have anything to do with capital market ratio or investors ratio. So just, you can also demonstrate that, oh, these are ratios you want to focus on. Numbers are not given, but you can just already demonstrate the pattern you want to follow. And let me tell you what I'm trying to do. Your exam is in few days, and this is your actual exam. It gives you an opportunity to plan on what you actually want to do, such that all you are doing is, when you now have the actual information, you are incorporating it into the template you already created on top of your head. Are we together? If you also choose to just focus on these two that are very clear, that's also not a bad one. So any question on the chat box? I haven't been checking.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So once we're done by 7 p.m., we should submit immediately, right?
Yeah, sure. So we have a submission link, which I will also drop on the group. So once it's close to the time, so just ensure to submit. And
sorry, I
what we
wanted to
can do
ask.
is,
Sorry, I wanted to ask. So this report we are going to submit by 7 now. Given the list of things you want us to write the report on, are we going to like title the report on this, since we don't have the full requirement yet?
yeah, sure. So you can title as you want it to be in the exam. We already know that financial analysis has a tendency. This has a tendency. This has a tendency. I mean, you can structure your subject based on that. Let me say, somebody give me a subject. I mean, this can work for somebody. Then this is something you just need to be a bit open to, such that in your exam now, if they decide to eliminate some parts, you just incorporate the other parts to it, and that's simple. So your subject should be structured in a way that you are picturing what we've already simulated, if let's say 1 or 2 or 3 of them are examined. Okay, any other question? I'm still checking. All right, so in the absence of any other question, I think let's go and be sending all other information to the group while you start writing the report. Oh, you are just joining. Okay, so I'll make the video available ASAP. Let me try to work on that. Maybe I can even put it on, I think I can put it on YouTube. Okay, thank you guys. I'll send this as well so that you can leverage on it, and then we can be communicating on the WhatsApp group.